And now let us talk about something that you said, which is very important. Being in control, doing the right choice makes you to feel good. And as we all know, our body is a chemical factory full of hormones. And whenever we do good things, there's different sets of hormones that's being secreted. When we do something really toxic, we have a different set of hormones being secreted. We can call it cortisol. The other side, you can talk about dopamine, endorphin, oxytocin, and all that stuff. Right now, we also know that our gut is also known as the second brain. Right, we are talking about, when we talk about mental health, we always talk about the brain, right? The most important faculty that allows us to talk and all that stuff to have the senses and all that. But there's another brain which is called the gut, which is filled with microbiomes. And these guys are closely related to what we eat, right? And the best part is this. I'm sure many know about this because the information is out there. Serotonin is secreted from the gut. Serotonin is what makes you to be relaxed. And serotonin, in the term of the chemical world, it's something like antidepressant. It's like a Prozac. I don't know what other medicine I've never taken, where it calms you down. So when you have food, especially when you have, when you eat your content, you feel very happy. You will be smiling, and you don't feel stressed at all. And the reason why I'm telling is that there are many studies showing that when someone is depressed, they tend to indulge themselves with food. Basically, when you look at the science part of it, it creates a serotonin to make them to relax. So now, knowing that microbiomes are important and you are feeding yourself with the nutritious food into your gut, do you think that could be one of the reasons why you're also feeling happy and more relaxed rather than agitated? They say you are what you eat, right? So, what's your opinion on that?
Yeah, well, like I said earlier, I'm certainly not a scientist, but I mean, it's what research I do, what reading I do. The gut is. I mean, I listened to an eminent professor, Harvard medical professor Sanjeev Chopra, who I think is the older brother of Deepak Chopra. Most Malaysians know of Deepak Chopra. Or Dr. Sanjeev is medical professor at Harvard, and he called the microbiome the newly discovered organ. It's just one of the hottest things in medical science over the last few years. So obviously, what we eat, I mean, because eating is something we do a lot of. We devote a lot of our energy to buying, preparing, and eating, food, and so it plays a tremendous. It would be naive to think that food does not have an impact on our mental health and our physical health. Food will have an impact on the amount of sleep we have, and so it has to be fundamental. And nutrition is fundamental. And one of the problems with food today is the lack of nutrition. Roma and I watched a documentary just last night or the night before, about regenerative farming. And this particular documentary, only a new documentary released, said that the world has only got 60 years of farming topsoil left. And we need to regenerate the topsoil around the world. And so this documentary was to raise awareness about that. So it's naive to think that we can eat junk and get away with it. And I don't think anyone would really believe that. But, the fact is, if we eat an ice cream, we don't fall over with a heart attack. It doesn't happen instantly. So the pain comes much later, and we get the joy of the taste immediately. And that's the big dilemma for us as human beings. Evolution has taught us to gorge on things when they're available. And so that's one of the issues we have, and that's where self-discipline comes in. But look, there's no question that the gut causes, I mean, 80%, 85% of our immune system is in the gut. And, you know, that's exactly where the food goes. So we're eating junk food, then is it going to be good for our physical immune system? The answer has to be no, because most prepared food is, you know, got lots of toxins and lots of chemicals, at least, lots of synthetics in it. So, you know, our body's not designed to utilize nor absorb that. So, and so the gut has to be the foundation. And like I've said, if we make good choices and eat good food, then it'll have a cascading positive impact over time. You know, our weight will improve, our sleep will improve, and our physical well-being will improve. Well, if all of these things improve as a result of eating better, then absolutely it has to have a dramatic impact on the way we feel about ourselves, on our mental health. I mean, absolutely. It doesn't mean that if you're leading a very healthy and you're very fit and your diet is perfect, that you're not going to have mental health issues, because there are other externals that come into play in all of our lives. But gosh, if we're fit, if we're strong, if we're healthy, if we've got our mental awareness right, that we're thinking mostly positive thoughts, then we've got to have a better chance of, you know, a good state of mental health, a good, stable, long-term state of mental health. So that's just my thoughts as a non-mental health.
Yeah, it's interesting. You know, have you ever experienced this, David, where when you ate some kind of food, certain food gets you rejuvenated, certain food makes you to feel sloppy. Have you experienced that?
Yes, sometimes what I experience, you know, for example, if I was to have, you know, something sugary, something sweet, something very tasty that I was craving, I'd probably feel good for a little while. You know, a big hit of sugar, I think, can give us a boost in energy and maybe, you know, a false feeling of well-being, but it's short-lived. And so you've got to go back and have another hit, a bit like smoking, you know, because I used to smoke, and, you know, you have a cigarette and you have a sense of well-being. It feels good. But then that wears off fairly quickly, and you've got to have another one and then another one, and that's the spiral downwards. So, you know, food, I know that if I eat poorly, then I feel poorly. If I eat well, and by well for me, that means, you know, whole food, plant-based, then if I eat well, then I feel well. I feel well physically. I feel that I've done the right thing by my body. I'm setting the right, being the right role model for my family, and that makes me feel good. So I get a whole cascade of good feelings. Whereas if I, you know, sneak into McDonald's and had a hamburger, then I'd know that I'm cheating on myself, I'm cheating on my family as a role model, and I would feel bad about it. And so that doesn't augur well for my state of mind. Now, doing it once every few years is, you know, is okay, but making habit of that sort of thing, then it will absolutely will, you know, will have ultimately, I think, a devastating impact.
Yeah, I like what you said in the beginning, when you're cheating on yourself by grabbing a burger at McDonald's and finding a corner to eat secretly as if the whole world is watching you and there's no one watching you except yourself. It's not a pleasant way to have food, right? Yeah. It's interesting.